Oh yeah. What's the best rain gear for backpacking? Let's talk about it. So here's a little cerebral exercise for us. Let's talk about the nature of rain gear, right? So rain gear by definition we would suppose is waterproof, right? Because we wear it to keep us dry. So here's a little secret that the outdoor gear industry just is kind of quiet about. Every piece of rain gear out there, maybe one exception, it's going to wet out. It will eventually wet out. All day in the rain, you're going to get wet because it's not truly waterproof. Now, if you wore a big garbage bag, I suppose, it's not going to wet out. But I can't think of anything else. I've had several rain jackets, Gore-Tex, whatever. Can you see that? That's from Outdoor Research. What do? They research outdoor gear. They actually spend a lot of money. They're pretty respected in the industry for doing a lot of research, come up with some great materials and some great gear. But this wets out. I have a Marmot rain jacket at home. That eventually wets out. It takes a little bit longer. It's because it's a little bit thicker and heavier. And here's another dirty secret. The industry will tell you that the rain gear is breathable. Breathable. Anything that's waterproof should not be letting anything through. If it's breathable, it's not waterproof. You can't be waterproof and breathable. I mean, you can use those words, but the real meaning of those words, they kind of cancel each other out. You can't be waterproof and breathable. You can be breathable and not waterproof. You can be waterproof and not breathable, but you can't be both. Another problem with rain gear is that, especially if it's warm outside, it doesn't breathe very well. Even if they say it's breathable, it doesn't breathe very well. And so it traps all the heat and the moisture from your skin inside of your rain jacket. So if it's raining out and it's warm outside, you're going to be wet on the outside and the inside. So why wear rain gear at all? I was on a North Country trail with my brother. You might remember the video series. He didn't wear any rain gear. He just got wet for that very reason. He generates a lot more body heat than I do. And so him putting on a piece of rain gear, you just would have been wet inside and out. And then his clothes would have been wet anyway. So why not just put on something warm and get wet? When I was on the Colorado Trail a few years back, that's exactly what one guy did. He never brought any rain gear. He just walked in the rain. And then at night, when he got into camp, he put some dry clothes on in the tent, and that was it. And just hung the clothes off the back of his pack during the day to dry them out. It works for some people. Now, if you have rain gear and it's cold outside, you're probably not going to sweat as much. Like me, it takes a lot for me to sweat, to get really hot enough to sweat, because my body just doesn't generate. It's not a big heat generator, right? I'm not a big guy. I'm a little guy, so I don't have a lot of body mass, and so I don't generate a lot of sweat. But if it's cold outside and you're kind of like me and you don't sweat a whole lot and you're not going to get super hot, that rain gear might make sense. Now, there's also ponchos. But ponchos, the benefit of ponchos is that they have this big, wide open, bottom on it. You're not sealed in. The air flows through a lot better. And the chance of you getting, soaked on the inside because of your sweat is a lot less. So some people like ponchos for that reason. Or, and this is my favorite, take an umbrella. On a recent trip, I was hiking in the rain for 2 hours. I did have my outdoor research on, but I had it unzipped. It was flowing freely. I really just only wanted it to cover my arms. I was using my umbrella. And as long as the wind is not crazy, umbrellas work pretty well. Another time when umbrellas don't work really well is when you're trying to go up a really steep grade. Because the angle of the umbrella, if you're trying to keep the rain away, you have to kind of have it tilted up a little bit. But going uphill, if you tilt it up a little bit while you're going uphill, you're going to get rain in your face. And so you have to tilt it down a little bit more. So you're only seeing a little bit of the ground in front of you, which can be a little bit dangerous. So that's just something to think about if you're going to take an umbrella and you're going up really steep grades. Also, umbrellas tie up one hand. You have to hold it. So if you're used to using 2 poles, you might only have to use 1. However, they do make a clip that goes along your strap on your pack. I'm kind of touch and go on those. I've had a couple of them, and they work okay, but they're at one angle all the time. So if the wind is changing as you're going around corners, and the wind is, it's going to come from a different direction if you go around the corner, or if the rain is coming down at a certain angle, you can't control that. You can't control the angle of the umbrella. It just kind of sits there in one place. Hopefully you won't get a big gust of wind, because then you got problems again, because it starts folding up, or it's hard to control. I had that problem on the Arizona Trail. On my little clip, I thought I got it all figured out now, but it got windy and the sun was really low, so it didn't really cover the sun, so it got weird. Those clips, they're good sometimes and in some conditions. I normally prefer just to hold it because of the wind conditions and because of the rain conditions or the sun. So it all depends.
It's now time for tantalizing tips.
A little tip on rain gear. So whether you choose not to wear it at all, whether you choose to wear a rain jacket, whether you choose to do an umbrella, whatever your rain gear system is, just remember that being wet and cold is great for hypothermia. All right, so you don't want to be both wet and cold. You should always try to keep staying warm, whatever that takes. So if you have to wear your rain jacket to keep warm, maybe that's what you have to do, and you'll be wet, but you'll be warm and you won't get hypothermia. So probably prioritize heat above being wet. I know being wet is not great, but rather that than getting hypothermia.
Oh, please, more!
Hey, another thing I use my rain gear for is just another layer. Sometimes I'll use it just for a windbreak. I'll take my outdoor research gear here. I rarely use it as an actual rain jacket, but it works great for a windbreaker. And it's also just another layer to keep you warmer in your tent at night or wherever. So it's a great insulation layer because it does trap in the heat.
And what would David do?
So what do? I think you might have pulled it out of everything I just talked about here. I do take my rain jacket with me because it's a great layer, whether I use it for actually in the rain or not. If the weather and the conditions are going to be favorable, I'm going to take my umbrella with me, and I'll probably use that more than I use my rain jacket to keep the rain off and to keep the sun off. The umbrella I have is a Gossamer Gear. There's a couple other companies that make them. Super lightweight. This one's like 8 ounces, 8.1 ounces, I think. There's others that are, I think, around 7 even. So if you can carry a half a pound, it's a lot more comfortable for me. So it might be more comfortable for you. So you might want to check that out. Hey, if you haven't subscribed, do that, please. And because I have lots more videos coming up about hiking and backpacking and gear stuff. If you're interested in any of that, come on and join in the crowd here. And another thing that I like, and what makes it more of a community, is that everybody comments down below. I don't have all the answers. I'm just, stumbling my way through this, and I'm figuring stuff out as I go that works for me. But I appreciate, the wisdom and the words and the experience of others. So if you have something down below that you want to talk to us about with regard to rain gear and backpacking, go ahead and put it down there. All right, so I will see you on the trail.